But what I can tell you, though, is that his list here,
Yeah.
it's not completely optimal because he has 2 Pegasus Knights, and against Greenskins, 2
Yeah.
Pegasus Knights are not the best choice. Because you don't really need more than 1 Pegasus Knight at most
Yeah, I think
against
that's about right,
Greenskins.
too. Yeah.
And, I mean, bringing 2 Pegasus Knights as part of his list is too much, in my opinion, for this tournament. He should have brought 1.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, that this means that if there are other Bretonnians that bring like 2 Pegasus Knights and he
Yep.
faces them, he'll be at a disadvantage. But against everyone else, he should have a better chance. So I think he should have taken 1 Pegasus Knight only in his list.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I need to
unless
go
you're...
over his list though.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. What you got? What is Jaysic brought, man? What is Jaysic brought?
Okay, so just like I said, the 2 Pegasus Knights. Then we see 4 Peasant Bowmen. We have a Man-at-Arms with polearm on each flank. Up front, we see 3 Spearmen with shields supported by, looks like 3 more Spearmen with shields and a polearm right behind them. Then I don't know where the general is. I don't see him yet. Anyway, we have 2 Knights of the Realm on the right, and on the left we have all the flying units right now, actually. The Louan Coeur, of course, and the Paladin.
There it is, yeah.
The lady.
For the lady, man, that's the HQ for them. And of course, by the way, going over the orc list, why don't I just start out by saying we've got some sneaky Goblin Wolf Riders back here, kind of vanguarding into the back of these Bretonnian forces. We'll see if they can get any decent kills on those Goblin Wolf Riders. This map, by the way, one of the better Vanguard maps, is there's lots of room around the deployment zones, unlike many other maps in the pool right now. What has Riggs brought? Riggs has brought actually a very nice list, and I think a very solid list to this tournament. It has 2 Giants, a single Goblin Big Boss on foot. Very strange choice there, but he does provide the morale, and it's kind of hard to hit because he's so small. Grimgor Ironhide, of course, is leading this horde. No, actually, that's a terrible, terrible lie. It is Azag the Slaughterer on foot. His death magic is going to lead the horde here. The main line is largely made up of 3 units of Black Orcs, as well as 2 units of Orc Boys, and of course, the 2 Giants within those guys, as well as the HQs. Behind that, curiously enough, we have 2 units of Orc Error Boys, not often seen, and a single unit of Doom Divers. And a correction there, by the way, guys. That is 4 units of Black Orc, so that is a very, very sturdy front line in conjunction with this range kind of superiority that he has in the form of the Doom Divers. That is going to pull Jaysic towards him. So what is the play here for Jaysic, man?
Well, the play for Jaysic is he's going to probably wait until there's... he's going to try and engage as soon as Bretonnia moves up. Actually, right now would be the best moment because Bretonnia is moving up and we see the archers not in position. Well, now they're in position. But if he moved up a little bit earlier, he would have forced Bretonnia to react very quickly, and then once the engagement happens, he's going to have to use those Goblin Wolf Riders to go for the archers, because they're in very good positions right now. If he pulls them out at the right time, they should be able to do a lot.
Yeah, no, they certainly are. And I think another error actually being made once again by the use of archers here by Jaysic. Instead of putting his archers in the front of his blocks, he instead sends his spearman units out here to die to the archer fire of the orcs and goblins. And of course, his archer fire is not going to be nearly as effective against the Black Orcs and would be better served actually getting into these Orc Air Boys. By the way, cavalry charge from the side here manages to sneak into the Orc Boys, though gets a little bit caught on the Giant. A charge going into the Black Orcs as well. Some Pegasus Knights coming in from the back. It is absolute chaos here. Pegasus Knights have gone into the archers, but now everything out of Riggs' army is just stuffing itself into the center.
Okay, this means that the Peasant Bowmen need to be ready to fire, but some of the units are not firing. This is the perfect moment for them to fire this massive blob of Orc units, but they're not firing.
That is very, very true. Yeah, now they're starting to fire, but it is very true what you said. They should have been firing much earlier. It does look like they will be able to rout this unit of Orc Boys that is coming towards them, so that is 1 victory, and also routed a single unit of Orc Air Boys. They are shattered now, so will not be coming back into the fight.
Okay, so we had a Spirit Leech on Luan, which is a mistake because he's nearly on full HP, so we're just going to regenerate that very, very quickly. We should have seen like a Spirit Leech on maybe the Paladin or Fate of Yuna on the other Pegasus Knights or something.
I do think that Spirit Leech certainly was a waste of magic, by the way. We are also seeing these Goblin Wolf Riders have charged right into the back of these archers, guys, right into the back. Some of the men-at-arms with the polearms, as well as some of the spearmen, are trying to pull back to kind of get these Wolf Riders out of the archers, but the archers will have a very bad day as the Wolf Riders charge, just barrel right into their rears.
You know, it wasn't that bad because the polearms were there, so the archers did not take that much damage, actually, but this one over here is taking a lot more damage because there's no spear unit protecting it.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, and also, by the way, that timing of those Goblin Wolf Riders was very, very good, as what they did was they prevented the archers from firing on the orc lines as they advanced, prevented the giant, for example, from taking a huge amount of damage before he got close to the Bretonnian lines, and the archers are going to move back now to probably try to get in a better position to fire on those giants as they come in. More Pegasus Knights, by the way, just pouring themselves into the fray here, going right up against the rear of those Black Orcs, as well as the Orc General here, Lowen, fighting him man to man. Some flanking here also, by the way, going in by the Orc boys. Managed to slip right past this idle unit of spears, which hasn't really done anything just yet, and get straight into the archers, who are supported by the men-at-arms with polearms.
Oh, this isn't actually looking too horrible for Bretonia if he kills the giants with the bows, which he can do because they're still alive. But oh, we're gonna see a nice rear charge here again by the Goblin and Wolf Riders. Oh, it's gonna be painful. I mean, the least it can do is that it just stops them from firing, right? Which is very important.
Well, really, that's really what you need, man, because that continuous volley fire from those archers will rout the giant before it kills the giant. And so he really needs those guys to be firing full time. But right now, because these guys are so tied up into them, those archers cannot fire. Their use is being wasted just a little bit right now. But again, mostly because of the very good play by the orcs, this constant harassment in the back by these continually returning Goblin Wolf Riders.
Yeah. Azag is going to fall, though. He's already shattered, and he might even get killed by Luan, which is very important. Could swing it in the favor of Bretonnians if their line holds.
Yep. No, I certainly think so. I think that the Bretonnians are actually looking very, very favorable in this engagement right now, because a lot of the Bretonnian troops that have routed are coming back, and there are still pretty much full health units of men-at-arms with polearms available for Jaysic's use here. And he's been very, very good, I have to mention, with the continuous rear charges of these Pegasus Knights.
Oh, and he's almost finished off one giant already with those bows, and Luan needs to charge the single unit of boys to make sure that it's shattered. I mean, he's regenerating, but he might as well make sure that Orc Boys is shattered, because if that Orc Boys comes back behind him, he could stop the Peasant Bowman from retreating. I know the giant gets into the bows as well now.
And don't forget, not only the giant, but also this big boss of the goblins going to get into the bows as well, man. He's going to be a serious contender. Not really, guys. Not really. The giant is actually going to get fought here by Loen Leoncoeur. Loen actually doesn't do great against giants, and giants do very good against all characters. So I'm not exactly sure how that fight will go, but the addition of the halberds, as well as the very good micro, by the way, from Jaysic here of his Bretonnian archers to keep them firing full time, may actually net him the win here against the giant. The giant will fall.
I can't see where Loen is. Oh, I have to rotate my camera around where I don't see him. It's too many flags. The giant falls, though.
The giant does fall. A kind of flank charge here going in by the knights that have just come back for Jaysic. Good use of them there. Very interestingly, by the way, what is this unit of halberdiers, these polearms, doing back here? I really do not know. He's got an entire unit of polearms really doing nothing in the back. Full health. Maybe they're in special reserve. So yeah, working still out pretty well for Jaysic here. I mean, one thing that Jaysic is going to have to worry about is the fact that despite the fact that he has gone around and killed most of the hard hitters of this orcs and goblins, this greenskin army, it still remains that he has to take care of two very healthy units of black orcs that are currently being supported by the leadership of a goblin big boss.
Well, he has all of his bows alive. He still has some cavalry on the field, some spears on the field. He has Luan, and he has the paladin. So he's in a very good spot. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna lose it.
I would certainly agree, yeah. I think he's in an incredibly good spot right now. I mean, these orcs are not going to be able to catch up to these archers in the long run. And there it is, guys. There's the battle. Jaysic with the win up against Riggs. Riggs who beat Diplomat. Diplomat who beat Jaysic. Jaysic comes back and beats out Riggs.
Yes. Well, it's kind of expected. Two giants. Not a good thing against Bretonia.
Yeah, not a great thing, not a great thing. And I think to a certain extent, too, I think Riggs got shaken a little bit by that initial charge. By the way, very good on Jaysic, being incredibly aggressive with his Pegasus Knights and his Knights both, and good micro on the Peasants as well. But, that aggressive charge in the early game that, took care of those Orc Air Boys early on, and kind of forced Riggs to mess up the composition of his entire line, to pull them all in, and then he had giants running after knights and the like. I think that really worked well for Jaysic, and probably was the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to Riggs.
Yeah, I mean, he needed to break the main line as fast as possible so he could get into the archers, and he just couldn't, because the giants were, like, as you said, busy doing something else, not being in the main fight.
Yep, truly,
So
truly.
yeah.
And even though the Goblin Wolf Rider use was on point, absolutely on point for rigs, it wasn't quite enough. And it kind of shows you too why, yeah, Goblin Wolf Riders are very good for taking out the likes of archers, but oftentimes they need to be supported by one other unit of maybe like Boar Boys, not even Orc Boar Boy Biggins, but some other harder cavalry unit to help them out in those long fights to, eventually rout the archers. As you can see, the archers really didn't take a lot of damage.
No, but they were stopped from firing. So I mean, the Wolf Riders did their job. It was just
Yeah.
like the giants that like let down the greenskins.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Wolf Riders was certainly
Yeah.
worth their money. Absolutely worth the money that they cost. Houseplant went up against Saphir here. Looks like was it Houseplant?